I'm here to flip through some holiday catalogs, and I'm not buying it. Hi there, this is a channel where I make fun of marketing and some other things, but what better time of year is there to talk about marketing and the lovely role that it plays in our lives than the holiday season, which is where we are right now. It's about mid-December when I'm recording this. So despite everything, I've always really enjoyed the holiday season, or tried to anyway. And as a kid, it was definitely still the norm for the really big brands and retail stores to send physical catalogs to the home of their existing customers, or in some cases, just to as many homes as possible, regardless of whether those people had a history of actually buying from those stores. And my childhood self had a habit of looking through these catalogs just while eating breakfast or killing time after school or on the weekends, even if the catalogs didn't really have anything that particularly interested me. But something about this marketing format, curated product photos, descriptions, and prices all in one place for easy comparison and collection, really held my attention pretty well. And it's important to note that the time period I'm talking about here is basically the early 2000s, roughly. The internet was obviously around at that time, but personally I wasn't allowed to use it that much at that age. I also just didn't know too much about the internet at that time. And on top of all that, e-commerce was still relatively new, relatively niche. Online shopping definitely was not the norm. In other words, I'm guessing that part of the excitement of going through these catalogs was just being shown so many different products that I probably would not have come across anywhere else. And back in those days, it was the department stores that produced and delivered the best holiday catalogs. For me, the Sears Wish book was the most significant of them all, and because those catalogs featured so many different product categories, including lots of stuff that I didn't really care about, it felt kind of special when I got to a section with stuff that I did care about, like toys, video games, CDs at the time, or musical instruments in some cases. As we all know, the internet continued to mature, and so did online shopping, to the point where traditional holiday catalogs came to be seen as unnecessary and even wasteful, especially as climate change became a much more prominent public issue. And so it's been pretty surprising for me to see physical holiday catalogs showing up again in my mailbox all of a sudden. And it just seems like a good time to check in on holiday catalogs and see if they've changed in any meaningful ways. After all, in the age of AI-driven product identification tools for your various devices, it feels strange for giant companies to go to the trouble of designing, printing, and shipping huge numbers of paper catalogs to customers who are just as likely to throw those catalogs in the recycling bin as soon as they show up. So here's what I'm going to do today. I'll do an extremely quick rundown of some historic holiday catalogs based partially on personal memory, but also based on looking at high-res scans that are accessible online. I will flip through the holiday catalogs that I have personally received this year, and I'm going to summarize some of the key differences and try to understand why these kinds of catalogs still exist at all. Cozy vibes, low-key. Let's just hang out for a while. So to prep for this video, I reviewed scans of roughly a dozen holiday catalogs that were released between 1944 and 2000. Because this review of mine was really cursory and subjective, I'm hesitant to really try to do a deep dive. And because of all the really obvious surface level differences, it's tempting to get lost in nostalgia and like bygone style choices that look pretty ridiculous today. But I don't want to do that. I will say that going through these old catalogs can be a lot of fun. It can be entertaining. And I will link some sources in the description so you can take a look for yourself. But some of the more significant developments in holiday catalogs through the years are actually pretty interesting. For example, the many many products featured in department store catalogs initially focused a lot on like story and product quality. I should also note that product illustrations, as opposed to photos, were still common in the 40s and 50s, and they kind of epitomized these really hyper-idealized product presentations. Naturally, the cultural norms of any given year, decade, whatever, are reflected in just the inventories of each store, as well as in how various products are actually shown off. So feel free to roll your eyes, but I think a good example of this is intimate wear, specifically like women's sleepwear, underwear, loungewear, stuff like that. While these items were either very plainly, almost clinically illustrated or not shown at all back in the 1940s, by the late 1960s, it seems that the US catalogs just went with full color photographs of women in their underclothes, complete with alluring poses. But while the inclusion of these products was quickly normalized, any depictions of men's underwear seemed to have been incredibly uncommon until like arguably the 1980s. I would love to hear from some other folks, especially if you were kind of, watching all this stuff happen in real time. Also, many of these holiday catalogs were truly massive, with some having over 400 or even 600 pages worth of stuff. Older catalogs also had their own cover prices, meaning that the catalogs themselves are products that you could buy, which is just especially wild to think about nowadays. Of course, the prices that we see in these older catalogs stand out as well. Standardized pricing across virtually all products was definitely the norm. Spoiler, you can't really count on that being the case in 2025, but much more surprising was that as early as 1970, the Sears Holiday Catalog, or Wish Book as it's generally called, mentions using credit to make your holiday purchases, specifically through a Sears charge account. And that same catalog also has a spread that specifically mentions the high cost of living. It's kind of funny how cost of living has continued to be a major issue ever since, basically. I wonder if anybody's ever looked into that before. The 1996 JCPenney catalog reminded me a lot of the modern day online shopping experience, specifically in the fact that a lot of product prices, like the full product prices, are accompanied by a monthly payment alternative. I guess it's also worth noting that while offering the widest variety of products, department store catalogs still generally stuck to similar product categories, meaning the different stores tended to cover the same bases. So looking across catalogs from Montgomery Ward, Sears, and JCPenney from the 40s to the 90s, you're likely to see things like clothes, obviously for men, women, and children, home goods and decor, toys, jewelry, tech products relevant to each era, and also just seasonal products. And yeah, that is a lot of different items. That's a pretty big variety, but my point is that more specialized product categories didn't usually make the cut at all. The products being shown off were meant for the widest possible audience. And after all, that is how department stores operated. They just had a little bit of everything that the average person would most likely want or need. Okay, that's probably enough. Again, if you're interested, there are lots of old catalogs online thanks to individual acts of preservation. I do wish there were more scans available of like catalogs from smaller or local stores, but I guess it's natural that the most ubiquitous catalogs are much easier to find several decades later. Okay, so now it's time to take a look at the catalogs that showed up this year. Hello, welcome back to the desk. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. I've gathered the holiday catalogs that I've received this year, most of them in November. It is now early December. Let's just do a quick overview of what I got in the mail. Crutchfield, they do audio equipment mostly. B&H, audio video stuff generally. Blick, art supplies, and another one for the same year and the same holiday season. We'll see. We might skip one of these. We have the Amazon Gift Guide 2025 and Duncraft. Nothing against them. I've never ordered from the store, and I don't have any sort of birding supplies. Not quite sure what brought this one to my doorstep, but we'll take a look at it as well, just for fun. Okay, so let's start with Crutchfield. I do think this is a general similarity to what we saw in a lot of the vintage catalogs, but we have some introductory stuff or stuff pushed to the edges, beginning or the end, that just kind of talks about like, hey, you can totally trust us. You know, here's how returns work. Here's our customer support, that sort of thing, to lower or remove some of the inhibitions that might be associated with making purchases, especially larger purchases, which is what this store tends to deal with. Free shipping is kind of funny. Like, I don't know, it's just a bit of a misnomer because so many of the products this place carries are quite expensive. It's kind of a given, you know? It's I don't know, it almost feels like a Burger King saying, hey, by the way, we sell burgers. It's like, yeah, okay. On this page alone, the least expensive product is $449 and the most expensive is what, $3,000, basically $3,500. This is actually kind of interesting, maybe goofy in a more general sense, to have an article about a teenager, a local teen, installing a new stereo in her 16 Toyota Prius. First of all, great job to her for having such a recent model. It doesn't actually provide all the details of how you would do this. It's just kind of a rough overview. But even so, I actually think this is a nice touch in terms of giving a real world example, regardless of whether or not this particular story is actually true, but giving a sense of, oh, here's, you know, a common scenario, here's why you would be shopping with us, and the process of actually getting it to work for your particular situation. So I don't know, it's just kind of sweet. Maybe I'm just falling for the branding, but I think that was actually a pretty good idea. Perhaps one of the most frightening devices that I've seen in a holiday catalog so far. They really want to stress that they do indeed offer free shipping on most items. Actually, just for kicks, let's try to get a sense of the number of faces, human faces, we get per spread. 2 does seem to be their minimum. Here we go. Less than 2 human faces on this particular spread. But I'm bringing this up because it gets talked about quite a bit in, like, I don't know, mostly talking about the internet, but just the idea of like face fatigue, or the opposite, where, you know, there's such a heavy reliance on human faces to promote engagement and to attract people's attention and all that stuff. That's obviously one of the big reasons why faces are such a central part of YouTube thumbnails. Obviously, though, this is an incredibly analog alternative to those virtual spaces and those kinds of platforms that would usually really emphasize that stuff. I think it's funny that, like, we're talking about audio equipment here. There does not need to be a single human face in the catalog to actually show off the inventory and things like that. But again, it contributes in some way to their branding. But I do think on top of that, a big element is just like, hey, we're trying to keep your attention, because that's the thing, just as a person, it can be difficult to not have your eyes immediately go to each face, you know, especially if they're looking directly at the camera, as most are. Okay, great gifts. I'm going to put a pin in this idea, since this is the first catalog we're getting to, but I know in advance that this topic will come up again. But obviously, positioning certain products as great gift ideas is a very old concept, of course, for marketing, or specifically holiday marketing. And it's just interesting to me what specific products, different stores and brands, etc., try to kind of shove into this this container of, oh yeah, these are great gift ideas, these are things that you could just give to someone no problem. And price is one consideration. I think in general, stuff that you're really labeling and positioning as gift ideas should be relatively inexpensive unless you're catering to an extremely wealthy target audience or something like that. But other than that, I think a key feature is that they should probably be products that are not self-contained exactly, but like you can use it right away. You know, it has that specific job. You don't need a bunch of other stuff to make it work. And in some cases that's true, like, okay, a wireless charger for your phone, another charger for your phone, and a grip, this little guitar kit of a relatively cheap guitar, and you have your amp there, so you could probably get going right away. But before we get to the end of the catalog here, I should just say this right now. Something I will be looking for throughout the modern day holiday catalogs is for actual prices. And as you've seen, I think, throughout the Crutchfield catalog here, the prices are there. There are a handful of products where you get a range of prices, most likely because they're different specs, you know, or different options to choose. But in general, that is a positive for me in a holiday catalog, because so many people, at least in the past, you know, really used physical catalogs like this to plan holiday shopping stuff, or as a kid to like ask for stuff. It was really, really important to have solid prices that you could rely on, and you're like, oh, I know that when I go to buy that 3 or 4 weeks from now, it will be that price, and I can work around that, I can plan for that. So in my opinion, the good catalogs include prices, and that's central to having it. That's central for the catalog to actually have some kind of value for the customer. And there we are. That's just about the end of the catalog. I enjoy that it doesn't feel too cramped. Really, it's you know, they have these nice little curated displays of related products or complementary products, but there aren't too many pages where it's just like, wow, there's so much stuff. But I think that's it. I think we're done with Crutchfield. There you go. Okay, so B&H. Okay, something odd here, for me at least, in this catalog is how much the layout and spreads like this seem to mimic regular catalogs, commercial catalogs, things like that. Like, these just look like ads to me, and I get that that's a funny word to use here, because obviously the entire catalog is marketing. It is specifically advertising every single product inside of it. But like, do we think Samsung paid to have a full page featuring these products, or is it just like, I don't know. This makes me think yes. I don't know. I would be very interested to hear from some folks who maybe work on similar projects. Something kind of funny they do with this catalog is essentially, well, it's something that marketing people do all the time, but they're kind of creating like, or communicating specific customer profiles. Like, oh, these products are specifically for this type of person who has these specific goals, right? And probably a specific type of budget. So we have, you know, content creator stuff, which generally refers to inexpensive, lighter, more portable products. And then we have, I think, a very funny characterization here of the Sony Shooter's Day Off Kit. I know that, you know, some professional photographers are very successful and they have plenty of money and they can justify spending money on gear, but even so, this is the Day Off Kit they're mentioning here is a $7,000 body with no lens included, and then, oh hey, why not also get 2 lenses that are over $3,000? This was just about $4,000, and it certainly will be with tax. My god. That's just kind of funny to me. I'll say this, I mean, it's certainly not out of the ordinary, but just the way that it's presented, and how consistently they do it this way. I really like that they include related accessories. Like, here are the things you would need to get or could get for these specific kinds of products, especially if you're being extremely generous or helping someone out with getting their first kind of kit of a camera and lens and things. Yes, these are some of the things you would absolutely need. This will be a quick note, and it's kind of just a graphic design comment in a more general sense, which, by the way, is not my job. It's just, I don't know, something I'm a little bit interested in. It's very black and white, literally, and not especially inviting. I get it. I get it when you're aiming at a very professional audience. That's like the go-to. I don't think it's necessary at all. And specifically when we're talking about like creative professionals, it could be fun. it could be a little more inviting and a little less sterile, but that's not really what we get. It is quite minimal in its use of color, and I don't know, that just tripped something in my brain By the way, if you're actually someone who needs one of these control interface things for things like photo or video editing, you don't have to spend that much money. I'll just say that right now. And here we are. I knew from the start that I wanted to talk about this situation. So remember what I was saying about gifts and gift ideas and products being positioned as gifts in the Crutchfield catalog? Well, picking the right holiday gift just got easier. And we just have a huge list of Nikon cameras and first-party lenses and some camera and lens kits. But regardless, you can get some binoculars. The inferior binoculars you can get for less than $100 US, if you can see that price there. I know it's a little small. But outside of that, like oh sure, I'll get somebody a Z8 Nikon body for $3,500 and that doesn't have a lens. Like this to me is a great example of stretching possibly to the breaking point that very old idea of like, oh, here's quick and easy. If you know someone who's into photography, here's some gift ideas. And these are, in my opinion, these are, I'll say, terrible gift ideas. Someone would be very happy to receive one of these if it's compatible with their system, of course. But like, I just can't imagine that world. I just can't imagine that relationship where someone's grabbing a $3,000 camera or lens kit. Again, this is maybe something that Nikon was pushing for. You know, they maybe paid for the space or not. But regardless, they're just trying to highlight the Nikon lineup. Why? Why do you have to act like this is a great list of gift ideas? It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I find it funny and depressing at the same time. Okay, the great Blick mystery, but I really want to understand. Oh no, fellas, oh my friends, it would seem to be the same catalog. Why? It's the same. Why would you do this? Well, I guess that means we don't need to look at both of them. The back's the same. This one is a coupon. Of course, I will say that I'm happy to see that there are prices. These are certainly the most crowded layouts that we've seen so far, I think, today, in terms of the contemporary catalogs. I kind of want this, by the way. Not in that size, but I've been enjoying some block printing lately. Oh! Well, there we go. I was just saying about how I was happy to see that we actually have solid prices on these items. However, we get this across many of the pages, it looks like. I just noticed it on this one. The lowest price for this product will be available online. That is a positive in my opinion, just because it's communicating clearly like, hey, you might see price differences. I do know that with Blick in general and with a lot of retail chains that have both in-person and online stores, there's likely to be some price differences, and dynamic pricing continues to become even more common in many different product categories, industries, whatever. Okay, here we go. So yet another layout that is specifically focused on like smaller gift ideas, or of course, you know, stocking stuffer things. And I think they did a pretty decent job here. And if we go through the prices, like the most expensive that I'm seeing so far is close to $40. Yeah, 40, 33. These aren't products that require a lot of explanation or expertise on the part of the gift giver. It's just like, oh yeah, if I know someone who's into visual arts, he'll probably be safe getting them something from these pages. So it makes sense. I think that's well done as compared to those other examples you're looking at. Oh, look. This is not an endorsement. And yes, I guess I'll touch on that briefly, but, you know, in theory, assuming the print quality is quite high, it is another advantage of a physical catalog, especially for something like art supplies, to have specific color swatches. Those, in theory, should be very accurate, at least in reference to each other on the same page, as opposed to literally any digital screen where you can't really count on it being color accurate unless you are very specifically targeting that or bought a color correct display and check it regularly, certainly an advantage. And I guess in a broader sense, I could understand people who are into physical media like this stuff would appreciate having a physical catalog at all. They're perhaps more likely to engage with a paper catalog than like the average person. And here we are, we have arrived. This is the Amazon gift guide. And it's sort of funny because, you know, for one, we don't have a prominent display of Amazon or the Amazon logo. Well, we have the box, I guess. The box it clearly deserves more real estate than the actual name of the company. I think, as we'll see quite soon here, this one is kind of a lot of the other stuff we've been talking about just rolled up into one. And thinking back on the vintage catalogs, the modern day Amazon gift guide is like, it's kind of like terminal velocity, I feel, for what physical holiday shopping catalogs can be. Okay, first up, man, just the cover. There's so much going on. Let's count the faces. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a QR code right on the cover. Is that necessary? I guess it's taking you to a specific part of the website, but it feels unnecessary to me. It's also kind of ugly just to have in the corner when everything else is so bright and colorful and it's really popping out. It's the only one really with a notable spine, I would say, though they didn't bother printing on the spine. I don't know what that's about. We have this going on, so we can assume that Amazon is printing more of these catalogs than any of the other catalogs we've looked at, but there's some quality control stuff going on. These, you know, these two pages were clearly meant to be aligned with the white box here. That just didn't happen. And then, yeah, like, I assume it was just cut incorrectly. It doesn't look great. And something else we should probably keep an eye on is, will there be a QR code on every single page of this catalog? So far, we are at 100%, 3 for 3. So the opening here, as opposed to the approach that some of the other catalogs were taking, or most of them were taking, which was like, hey, we're going to do a little bit of an intro to our company, our services, our support, return policy, like nuts and bolts stuff that you would want to know. Here we are, we're just right in it from the first moment. They're just like, here is as much product as we can reasonably fit on these pages. So we're starting with top 100 plus gifts. Okay, so this is kind of funny to me. I would have assumed that this was like just bestsellers in categories that are associated with gifts or something like that, you know, like personal tech, outerwear, cosmetics, etc. It's not that at all. These are standouts handpicked by our team. So that immediately makes you suspicious quite often when a company's really highlighting a particular item or series of items. They might be loss leaders, they might be stuff they're overstocked on, they're just trying to get rid of. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening here because I don't know, but still it's like, just tell me what people buy most often as gifts. They could even do that based on like anonymized data of when people select the gift wrapping option, you know, for something they're ordering online. This will be a theme, is so much stuff. Just so much stuff. Amazon doesn't have really a specialty. It's not working in a specific area. It's trying to be everything. And here it's just like the range. We have cosmetics. We have some kind of serving dish thing. What is that? It's a ceramic pet bowl. It's this cherry thing, I guess. We have what I assume is a projector. No, it's an active playground, active play system. I have no idea what that means, and we don't have room for a description, of course, so you're just left to wonder, or to scan the QR code to shop our top 100 plus gifts. A clock, a jacket. It's just, we're already all over the place, and it would seem that the main motivating factor for how everything's organized is this color palette, I guess. Which is nice. Look at this gradient we get, and I assume it will continue. Yeah, there we go. Should I just... Yes, it would appear that every single page in the Amazon catalog, including the back cover, does indeed have a QR code. In case you didn't have another way to get to the Amazon site. We have returned to little holiday scenes, trying to give us some sense of atmosphere, sense of the season, which I do appreciate. This one's kind of odd, isn't it? Like, I get it. I get we're highlighting slippers and PJs here, but it just feels very strange to not have anybody's head in the photo. Again, just using as much space as they can for products, and yeah, I don't know. I think something's lost in the process. On the one hand, I'm trying not to sound mean, but at the same time, I'm like, why are you concerned about that? And this is a great contrast right here. Here we have some kind of scene. We have our models. We have specific, they're wearing the products. Things to kind of set the mood. And then over here, I guess it's just a rug, and a bunch of stuff is just on the rug, and it's like, okay, these are very different approaches to doing essentially the same thing. And whereas this does give us some kind of fun holiday vibe, this is just like, oh, please pick up your Snorlax mug so that we don't step on it. They're very odd, and odd to see specifically these two really different takes right opposite each other. And yeah, I guess this is as good a time as any to highlight the fact that compared to every other catalog we've looked at, and basically all of the vintage catalogs I talked about earlier, we do not get prices on anything. As far as I know, I'll keep an eye out. Maybe one specific really expensive product has a set price, but no, basically nothing has a price listed in the catalog. I don't know. I guess in a way it's really paring down the holiday catalog to its essential purpose, which is just to attract your attention and attract desire, generate desire, right? Like, oh yes, oh that looks cool, that's the thing I want. Better scan that QR code. Intentionally inconvenient. And obviously the real fundamental reason why they can't show the prices is because Amazon is basically the global leader, as far as I know, in terms of manipulating pricing, putting forth dynamic pricing engines so that you will almost never see a consistent price for products, especially like smaller ticket items. The price is going to go up and down all the time, even if only by a few cents. And that's something you can, a fun little test you can do is to add stuff to your saved for later list on Amazon. Each time you come back, usually, from one day to the next, it will give you a breakdown of like, here are the items that have increased in price, and here are the items that have decreased in price. And it's especially funny when they try to highlight the price decreases and say like, hey, this might be a good time to buy. This candle has reduced in price by 3 cents. And it's like, okay. In terms of like planning, what's the savvy customer meant to do here? They make a wish list or something, and they try to monitor the prices from one week to the next and hope that they end up with a decent price at a time when there will also be a window for it to arrive before Christmas with the right shipping option. And like, I don't know, it feels like buying turnips in Animal Crossing. Like it is just gambling. It's certainly a choice that, regardless of the necessity, regardless of the practical reasons for not being able to list prices for all the different products, it does feel like blatantly anti-consumer. I don't like that word, but anti-customer, anti-buyer. You really have to be on your guard, and at this point just guess. That could be another potential reason behind not listing prices, or maybe side benefit of not listing prices is that you have no idea as a buyer what the stuff is going to cost, and maybe that will make you more likely to just pick out a bunch of stuff, to go through with the marker and say, oh yeah, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, and then for better or worse, hopping onto the website through one of these lovely QR codes and going, oh my gosh, that's $650. I can't really do that. Now I have to pare it down. Anyway, I should probably move on, but yeah. Okay, and I don't know, it is interesting to see them reaching for some kind of connective tissue. Obviously, you know, the go-to is like the type of product, but then we have stuff like this that's literally just a color family of sorts. That's it. Like there's nothing else about these products that would tie them together. And then we leave. I mean, like Mocha Magic, okay, we're still on colors. Personal touches, we've abandoned the color idea. I don't know. I don't know. I really feel for the people who were tasked with designing this catalog. I just can't imagine. I cannot imagine the demands placed on them. This page is just a fun reminder of how much Amazon owns. You can get some gas through us. We have live sports for some reason. We have Grubhub, so your food delivery is part of our business as well. And then of course you have, this is Prime, it's the Prime credit card, but there's a 5% cashback offer just for 18 to 24-year-olds. That makes me really sad. That is very sad. Like, let's try to get young people in a bunch of debt as early as possible. Yikes. As we had with the front cover here, there's just some issues with the printing or the cutting, and it looks pretty ugly, and it's a little bit embarrassing for a company so big and so wealthy, but there you have it. Okay, just for kicks, I want to learn how to attract more birds. And you know what? Something I'm impressed by right off the bat, other than the total lack of products, obviously you're still advertising stuff, but it's just a picture of a bird. And even better than that, I'm pretty sure we have a photo credit. I don't think anyone's photos have been credited in any of these catalogs. That's actually pretty impressive. Prices, hooray. It's not very crowded. We have, 7 products across 2 pages here. That's a low number for what we've been seeing today. Wow, here's a little product testimony. Bob the Birder from South Boston, Virginia? I didn't even know that was a place. Says, keeps our smartest squirrels from the birdseed. Whoa, look at that huge one. Once a squirrel steps on the lower platform, enjoy watching the lid magnetically rise to offer fresh access to whole peanuts. Well, everybody, here's my new hobby. How much does a bird bath cost? $180? Okay. A heater. This is a heated bird bath. Do we want the birds to be getting energy stuff? This is also very charming, and a nostalgia play, maybe unintentionally for me, just to see a physical order form that you could put in an envelope and send off to their mailing address. That's pretty wild. And even this, it's been so long since I've just seen a nice clean breakdown of shipping costs based on how much you're spending. That takes me back. But hey, look how nice. Oh, the blue. This actually looks great. Well, I mostly looked at this as a joke, and I still don't understand why I received it. And clearly they're not too worried about, whether this is an existing customer or not. The twist, though, is that this is my favorite holiday catalog of 2025. This does offer a really interesting foil, a really interesting contrast to the catalogs from the much bigger retail chains and brands. This is simple. It doesn't feel like, for, B&H, I could see them having stopped doing print catalogs a while ago and then bringing them back when they realized there were certain advantages. But it just kind of feels like Duncraft has been doing basically the same kind of catalog for many, many years. I admit there's, nostalgia stuff coming into play. I admit that it helps that I don't feel really tempted to buy any of the stuff in this catalog. But despite it all, this is pleasant. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels incredibly honest. I know that's a weird thing to say about a holiday catalog, but that is the sense I get from it. And I mean, hey, I was talking earlier about how many faces are included in so many of these layouts. I don't think we got a single human face anywhere. Sure, the bird faces are maybe what really matter but again, I'm just weirdly impressed by a lot of these choices. And maybe most importantly of all, it doesn't feel like it's trying too hard. And I'll maybe come back to this in a future video about certain kinds of marketing I can enjoy or at least tolerate a little bit more. It is a big thing for me when I don't feel like someone's really trying to force a message or a product line or whatever, when it just feels like, hey, this is my job, here's what we have to offer, buy it if you want, buy it if it fits your needs. And that's absolutely what I feel here. It's just it's certainly quaint. It's certainly not breaking any new ground in any of these categories. It's actually quite entertaining, and I'm glad that this was kind of a nice palate cleanser at the end of our catalog flip throughs. Let's wrap up the video. This turned out to be a pretty enjoyable experience for me. As I said at the start, I used to look through a lot of catalogs just for fun, though I rarely ever ordered anything from them. And funnily enough, while looking through this year's catalogs, I did not find myself wanting to buy anything. Maybe some of the birdhouses. Whoa, look at that huge one. But even so, there's just something calming to me about spending time with these obviously outmoded objects. So, are modern holiday shopping catalogs significantly different from the holiday catalogs of the analog era? I would say yes, but largely in pretty obvious surface level ways. The 2025 catalogs I looked through are much smaller, they're much shorter than many of the older catalogs. Even like the sizable Amazon gift guide from this year is ultimately pretty small compared to those. And it's not too surprising. That makes sense from a cost perspective for one, and it also makes sense for avoiding criticism over material waste and environmental impact. But you know what? Even if you're using like 100% recycled paper stocks and sustainable inks and everything, it would still be more environmentally friendly not to print anything at all. The modern catalogs are also much thinner, and I mean that in terms of information and substance. Most of the 2025 catalogs lean heavily on their accompanying websites. With the exception of the Blick catalog, I think most of them seem to be collections of featured products, basically, as opposed to more comprehensive overviews of what each storefront has to offer. Of course, the old catalogs just felt more thorough. Even in the 70s Sears Wish books, they weren't showing off the store's entire inventory, I'm sure, but they definitely seem to be covering all of the store's different departments. It also seems that a sense of holiday atmosphere has firmly become a thing of the past. And I want to be clear, I'm not commenting on like a lack of Christmassy or Christmas coded atmosphere or decor elements. We all know that Christmas is still the primary driver of holiday season consumption. What I really mean is that holiday and seasonal elements of any kind are just pretty scarce. Instead, it feels like they're being presented in a very pragmatic, almost cynical manner, just based on really sterile financial data showing that people spend more money around this time of year. And I stand by my comment from the flip through that the more technical, professional catalogs offer so little color and whimsy. I think B&H was the worst on that front. And even in the catalogs that did include a fair amount of seasonal atmosphere, it was still scant, and at worst, I think it can feel a bit forced. Something I really appreciate about the older catalogs is the amount of attention and effort given to photos and illustrations and graphic design choices that successfully capture a sense of the holiday season. Now, there's still a lot of room to criticize those older seasonal graphics. You know, the representation is generally really bad. The scenes themselves are hyper-idealized depictions of very consumption-focused holiday activities for the most part, but they still make those catalogs feel distinct and special, and I completely understand how, for many people, the arrival of these old catalogs just signaled the arrival of the holiday season. I just don't get that Are you having a dream? And I just don't get that feeling from any of the modern catalogs. I'd be interested to hear, from you, whether there are particular modern holiday catalogs physical catalogs that really do have some great holiday vibes going for them. The last big question that I should try to answer here is kind of what we started out with. Why are there still holiday shopping catalogs in the year 2025? The theory I keep coming back to is this one, and feel free to disagree. As you've probably heard about by now, or even just experienced firsthand, the internet is in a vastly different state than it has been for most of its existence so far. And while corporate power still has a massive amount of sway over the content of the internet, the infrastructure of the internet, the monetization of the internet, and even the regulations governing the internet, corporate power has a pretty serious problem of its own devising. And that's the fact that the internet is completely saturated. And unfortunately for them, that saturation increasingly consists of AI-generated content and even traffic. So not only are actual human users more and more fatigued by the experience of inhabiting online spaces, but major platforms also still don't have a hard and fast way to actually tell, which activity, which posts, which traffic are human and which are coming from, computational models. And that's a really big problem because, a human being spends money. From a corporation's perspective, that's probably the most valuable trait a human being can possibly have. AI models don't spend money, as far as I know, certainly not autonomously. But even if we remove AI from the equation, I think the point still holds. The internet is no longer new. People are tired, and more people are becoming aware of how many different ways online storefronts can, manipulate them into buying too much stuff and paying too much money for it. You've got massive numbers of people using ad blockers and sending promotional emails straight to spam. Black Friday is no longer an event or a day. It's just like a month-long span of marginal discounts on products that are available all year round for the most part. And within this frustrating shopping landscape, physical catalogs may actually stand a better chance of capturing the attention of customers. We all still need to check our mail for some reason, and it takes more effort to throw a catalog in the bin than it does to just leave it out in the open for a while where it's just going to wait to be picked up by someone in the house. So in 2025, an object that occupies physical space in your home is going to stand out more than just about any digital image on any one of your many screens. I really think physical catalogs are just a strategic move on the part of stores that are desperate to maximize their fourth quarter revenue. Also, we need to acknowledge that these catalogs are ultimately part of a company's marketing spend. Designing and printing and shipping paper catalogs all amounts to a business expense. And the nostalgia angle isn't just a personal perspective. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to actually use the clip in this video, but there's this History Channel series called Christmas Through the Decades, and it really stressed in one episode, I think the 1960s one, it really stressed just how much affection people had for holiday catalogs, especially as kids. And I've heard the same thing from lots of people in real life too. I understand that holiday shopping catalogs have always been cynical in nature, but as I've talked about with different types of advertising and marketing before, there are ways for us humans to still get value out of them, especially when that value has nothing to do with the intended purpose. And as I've said here, I've enjoyed looking at the 2025 holiday catalogs. I had a fun time making this video, and even if I wasn't making this video, I probably still would have gone through those catalogs and had a nice time. Regardless of whether I'm buying stuff, there is a coziness to it. There's a satisfaction to it that just feels so distinct from shopping around for stuff online. So oddly enough, I do kind of hope that holiday catalogs continue to stick around, ideally in a very sustainable format. And while I don't think the core purpose of holiday catalogs has changed much at all in the last several decades, I do think that in many different ways they reflect the current state of shopping, consumption, and even just marketing as a whole. So I think that brings this video to a close. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy holidays. Please enjoy some time off. It's a great time of year to take some days and not do anything at all. But yeah, I think that's all for now. Take care. I have to reach over here. I have to do this.